Welcome to this episode of Getting Hard, the podcast where the opinions aren't valid and the hosts don't matter. I'm Jen. Across the table from me is your other host, Tim.
Yep.
And our special guest today is Aaron Animal Matthews of Built for Sin and Root Cellar. Hi, Aaron.
Yo, yo, yo.
Two of us are drinking, and one probably should be to put up with us.
Just the tea.
Drinking tea.
Just the tea.
Gross.
Yeah, I can put something in that for you.
No, thank you.
I'm kidding. I actually really like tea. I drink a fair bit of tea.
Right?
I'm
All
a
right.
tea enthusiast, if you will.
Well, guys, I guess we're done.
I mean, if there's anything that you can think of that's more metal than being a tea enthusiast,
I can't
I
think of anything.
dare you to challenge it.
I bet you all the biggest black metal guys that act tough as fuck
They
are
probably drink
all
tea.
drink tea.
Sipping on tea.
Yeah, probably, no doubt.
I would
That,
bet money.
Darjeeling shit. Yeah, probably. Green tea.
I mean, we know that the psychopath from Gorgoroth likes red wine. Other than that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Pantera likes whiskey. Those are the only two
Yeah.
that I can associate with specific drinks, honestly.
I think it depends on where you come from, right? Because, I mean, just all the southern bands, if you're talking any of the old rock bands, hair bands, they're all whiskey heads.
Myself, I like death metal and beer. That's
Yeah.
my thing.
I
Well, that's
picture-
kind of our thing is beer in this area, too.
I picture Bruce Dickinson drinking some tea.
Yeah, maybe.
He probably does. He probably needs tea at his age.
Well, he's a pilot, too, so he
God.
probably never drinks.
He's smart.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a smart guy. I actually always liked
The
Bruce
fact that
Dickinson.
they can go on tour and have the entire tour on their airplane, and the singer of the band flies the plane. I mean,
Yeah.
that's incredible.
And
That's-
there's a giant
that's
dead
band-
Eddie painted on the plane.
I mean, the plane is
Yeah.
unbelievably awesome. But, I mean, aside from just that, just the fact that they can go on tour with the entire company on that plane, that's a dream.
And the
really.
band's not fucking with him the whole entire time, because, I mean, that's got to be tempting.
Not when your whole livelihood is on that plane.
Okay, well, you obviously like heights better than I do.
Don't
I
get
don't
a
think
plane,
Aaron's
Tim.
ever getting on a plane with me now.
Well, I will. I just won't be anywhere near you.
What's new, anyway?
No, not too much. Same old, listening to metal. And,
You don't listen to metal, do you?
well,
What the fuck are you doing on this podcast? This is a gospel podcast.
So, Aaron, tell us about your bands.
I don't know what you're talking about, Jen. I've had way too much beer.
Well, I know you're in this band called Built for Sin, and you're in another band called Root Cellar.
Well, that is true. Those two things are true.
And anything to say about them?
That's about as much as you can say about either of those bands, honestly. I mean, that's...
Yep.
Aaron, you're fired.
One's gourd grind, I guess we could call it.
What, Root Cellar?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've hard time
It's a mix-up.
categorizing things, honestly.
I hate categorizing things.
I
I
mean,
think I've said
it's-
that on the pod before.
I would say brutal death metal,
Yep.
if you're going to put it into a category, because a lot of the influence on the music is that style. You're talking anything that falls into that category is kind of in the realm of influence for
Yeah.
the founders, and also the lyrical content as well. Like Steve's a big fan of all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Cannibal Corpse. And
Yeah, the grind. Which I've discovered, actually, I would have
Topsy.
always, my whole life, I would have been like, everybody probably thinks that Cannibal Corpse is a grind band, but apparently they are straight up death metal, according to all the sources I've checked.
that's the birth of brutal death metal. Really, is Cannibal. I mean, it's the shock factor kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously their imagery is well known. That has its own shock value, but the lyrical content as well would be the. They really push the boundaries as far as that, and
Yeah.
Root Cellar is kind of definitely a derivative of that style. It's got other elements in it, and like me and John, we have a lot of different influences musically than the rest of the band. So what we bring to it is different. So like I was never a huge brutal death metal fan growing up. I mean, I've come to appreciate it, and I certainly enjoy a lot of aspects of it, but it wasn't something that I naturally gravitated to.
No, it wasn't what I went towards either.
So we add something that just puts a little different flavor into the mix than what it would be, I guess, otherwise. So, I mean, like, you know, we're just not as well versed with that stuff. So we'll play riffs. I mean, John will come up with a new riff, and you know, Joe or Steve will have like 3 bands that he'll list off and be like, "This is what this sounds like," and I'll be like, "Oh, well, I've not heard anything from any of these bands." So I think that's kind of an interesting element where it's like we can come up with stuff that they can relate to in the categories of music that they like, but because we don't really listen to it, we have the ability to maybe not be influenced by it in a way that's going to copy it. So
Yeah,
maybe that
it.
gives us a bit of a ability to be more of a unique. Also, you know, me and John are more into other style. I mean, me and John listen to very different stuff, but
Yeah.
I'm more into death metal. He's more
I don't know
into,
anything about what he listens to.
I mean, I'd say, you know, deathcore or metalcore would be
Yeah, see, now that's
closer
right up my
to
alley.
his categories, you know.
Yeah.
And he's not shy about that. You know, he doesn't listen to a lot of the brutal stuff that Joe Woods or Steve Allard or Chester. But I mean, I have a lot of range. You know, I listen
You listen to
to
a bit of black metal too.
Yeah.
A lot of that symphonic shit.
huge Emperor fan.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
Emperor too. You can't kind of. They're a hard band to hate because they put out some stuff that isn't really listenable to everybody, but at the same time,
Well-
they've put out some stuff that almost anyone would like.
The early stuff, you know, it's like any
Yeah.
of these black metal bands too. With the early stuff is, you really have to be an atmospheric black metal enthusiast to want to
To listen to that
go
wintry
through an
fucking
entire
shit.
album.
Yeah.
But I find myself, once I'd heard all the older stuff, I had a new appreciation that I could then go back and listen to the old stuff and say, okay, not only do I hear where they took the elements that made them what they were later on, but I can see the progression. So,
How long have you been with Root Cellar?
I don't know, probably between 2 and 3 years.
Yeah, I guess that sounds about right. Because you guys kind of dissolved Carcia, and then
I'm
you
a
were
terrible judge of time.
Oh, me too. Yeah, I mean, Bill for Sin's been a band for what, three or 4 years now?
I think, yeah,
Yeah, add,
It's either that-
add 12 to that.
either
probably.
that or 12. one of those numbers.
I think we're close.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, we've been.
I'm trying to figure it out right now, but
I think you're
My
looking at pushing
son's-
15 plus.
my son's 9 and
Honestly, probably 2007,
was
I think.
probably, I was going to say 3 or 4 years before he was around.
So, a couple years.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been doing it. Had some fucking changes, too.
Yeah, yeah. I'd like to be doing more shows, but that'll come. With the
Well,
new-
I meant lineup changes. Everybody wants to do more shows.
Yeah.
And we will do more shows. Which, by the way, folks, EP is coming soon. I don't want to give you a time because, as we've already noted on other pods, that it's been taking way too long. This cake has been baking for a fucking long ass time. Let me tell you.
Yep.
But it's coming, and it's going to be. We're going to make it as much of a masterpiece as we can when it gets here too, which is going to be awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's gonna be short and sweet, you know.
Yep.
Before we get into Built for Sin, can we go back to Root Cellar for just
So
a
we
second?
can go back to fucking whatever. We can go back to Jesus Christ if you want.
So, you guys have a really interesting look on stage. You want to talk about that?
All right. Well, so we're not Slipknot. We'll start with that. We are nothing like
Who's the
Slipknot. Right? The pumpkin is Lord Gourd. That's me. I am master of all.
Pumpkinry?
Yeah, whatever.
Brutal
Pumpkin
pumpkinry.
spice?
So basically, the idea is like we're all kind of, well, maybe aside from John, he's not so much, but we're all kind of horror movie enthusiasts, and this is like slasher movie kind of thing. So, I mean, Root Cellar really, it kind of comes from like the theme is based around like Jason, kind of Friday the 13th style, campy slasher movie.
Do you guys all have pseudonyms?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
and
And that's more creative than Slipknot. It's
yeah,
theirs
well-
is what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I couldn't tell you. I'd have to listen to them to be able to know what their pseudonyms were.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I mean, it's easy to lump people into categories. We wear masks, so a lot of people probably think, oh, they're just like Slipknot, but
Or Mushroomhead.
I mean, we're like neither, very dissimilar to either of those bands, other than the fact that we wear masks. And the masks aren't themed on the same thing. Well, I guess, they certainly have a horror movie aspect to Slipknot's look, but we're more into like campy slasher movies. So that was the idea behind
Like Evil
it.
Dead shit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Love Evil Dead.
Anything that's campy.
By the way, anyone who's listening who doesn't love Evil Dead, get the fuck off.
Yeah, well, I mean,
No,
you
just
you
kidding.
can die.
But no, seriously.
If you don't.
I'm only serious.
Yeah, I mean,
Speaking of Evil Dead, I'm never going to forget you when I sit and watching the remake of it. The whole tongue splitting thing. Do you remember that?
It was not a bad remake. But it was not what the originals were, because it was actually
it was not
scary.
campy. It was not funny.
I remember it actually startling me, and I was like, okay, well, that's cool, but that's not
quite horrifying.
the new It?
Yeah, no, Evil Dead.
No, Evil Dead.
Oh, yeah. It was a good movie. It was nothing like the original. So I didn't think of it as a remake. It was
They
more
put
just
production value into it. And it was
like an entirely different movie, honestly. It was a good movie if I'm not comparing it to
Hard
Evil
not to
Dead.
compare, though.
If I'm not even looking at it as Evil Dead, then it was a great movie, but it wasn't Evil Dead to me.
No.
And to try to remake it, and I'm sorry, but the whole like we have to make certain changes and do this remake thing, I don't get it.
No. I don't even get the remake thing, man.
I'm all
Come
for
up with a new fucking movie for
I'm
once,
all
for
for
Christ's sake.
equality and
Yeah.
all that stuff, but a remake is a remake, and you don't need to incorporate every politically correct aspect into today's society into your remake. Just try to make the movie, and you better make it better.
I mean, did a
than the
chick
first
even
one.
get fucked by a
Otherwise,
tree in that?
Yes.
Don't bother.
Really?
Yes.
Because, I mean, I don't remember that. Maybe I have to rewatch it, but I really
fell
want to see a
asleep.
chick get fucked by a tree.
He fell asleep during the movie.
But yeah, I mean, it wasn't campy. It was.
No.
But that's the thing, right? And I'm fine with it not being campy. If you're gonna redo a horror movie and you're gonna make it serious, that's fine. But it's not really a remake. To me.
I actually walked away hating that movie.
It's funny. I expected to hate it, and I thought at the end, like, well, it was a pretty good movie, but it wasn't Evil Dead to me. Like, it just
No.
it's too far.
Well, I think after they were 10 minutes into production, they realized, okay, this is a fucking joke. Let's just make it funny. It's to the point where it's not really that scary.
Do you know the story of that? They had like a $6,000 budget.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't much.
That's what they had.
They
so
didn't have much to work
So-
they had to make their own.
they probably had to
gore.
pay
Did you
all
know
of that
that-
to the tree.
Evil Dead 2 was actually a remake of Evil Dead 1.
Is that what they were trying to go for? Okay.
So Evil Dead 1 was supposed to be serious. It was supposed to be a serious horror movie, and people found it hilarious. So they did Evil Dead 2 and actually played on that whole comedy aspect.
Yeah. And what was the third one?
Of course, by the time
Army of Darkness.
Darkness came out, it was just
That was beyond.
absolute.
That was an amazing movie.
That's the first one I saw.
Yeah,
I didn't see the
was-
other two before Army of Darkness.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's all you can say about it, really. I mean,
yeah.
the only thing that I would say would be as good as the movie Army of Darkness is Five Finger Death Punch. I mean, as a band, if I was to compare a band,
Oh, man.
I would say that would be the
Dude,
one.
You're
you
going to
know.
make me go into bands I hate
I mean, that's
and
that's
try to
num-
explain
as far
why I
as, like,
fucking hate them.
like musical genius and like just the pinnacle of like talent and abilities that you can ejaculate into human beings. Five Finger Death Punch is right there. You know?
I saw an argument.
They are a
unfold online
rainbow
about this band.
splooge of musical
Oh,
talent.
man.
I saw an argument online unfold about this band, and I managed to stay out of it, but I really wanted into it bad. But I just decided today wasn't the day I was going to start insulting people. But somebody came out and
You
somebody
brought the
came
wrong
out and was
person to the
like,
pod.
I don't know if anyone disagrees with me, but I think Five Finger Death Punch is the best band from the States. And
Well, my name's not Chad, and I don't drink Monster energy drinks, so guess I don't
But,
relate to them.
the people underneath, man. I've just watched the most the most hateful fucking shit unfold in the comments section underneath this post.
It's
and
beautiful.
I was like, I'm just gonna leave these guys to their battle, man. I don't think I need to be involved.
I could read that shit forever.
But if I had to say it, I mean, yeah, I don't feel like there's really anything going on there that gets me excited. That's for sure.
I can't get into it. I mean, obviously, like I said, I haven't had enough Monster Energy drinks, and I don't get it,
I try to have respect for a lot of bands, like any band that does a lot of work to get where they're going.
They're brotacular.
Having said that, there's a huge population of people that really loves them. So they've done something right.
I'm sure they have some musical abilities, like I'm not just shitting on them just because I think they don't have any musical abilities, but what they're doing with it just is so far from anything that I can relate to that it's just, it's a different world for me.
All those fans wear mesh trucker hats and wife beaters, right?
Yeah, and it probably says
Monster Energy drinks on them.
Well, we all of us
make America great again.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
all of us
but
metalheads, though,
sure.
have known that guy. Okay, that they say, "Oh, what kind of music are you into?" And you're like, "Well, I'm into metal." And they're like, "Oh, cool, I like metal too." And then they play you a fucking 3 Days Grace song, and you're like, "Well, what the fuck was that, dude?" They're like, "Oh, that song's amazing." Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, at that point, I've already checked out. I'm not going to even look into what else shit you like. And 500 Death Punch falls into that too.
That's the thing, right? I mean, you have to gauge people's reference points when they give you compliments too. Like, I've been in this situation where I played a show and somebody's come up to me afterwards and said that I was like we sounded exactly like Mastodon, and I thought,
which I was actually just saying to Jen.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not like hating on Mastodon. Like, I like their early stuff. I don't care for most of their recent stuff, and I'm not like a big fan.
Yeah,
I just never really got into them. But to me, like at my initial reaction to that was, oh God, like what am I doing wrong? If they're comparing me to Mastodon, that's not what I want. But then I had to kind of take myself back and think, okay, well maybe
just
to this person, this is a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
This is their reference. This is to them. This is a band that they really like, and they're saying to me, I really like your band, and I'm going to compare you to another band that I really like. So, I took the compliment. I said, "Oh, thanks." And remember, obviously, I'm screaming in my head. I'm like, "Oh God, like that's not what I want to hear." But
they might not know shit about metal.
And that's my point.
And when I say that, I don't mean to insult people.
Don't have a lot of background in different types of metal, so they're not going to make an accurate comparison.
It is all relative, because I mean, it's not so valid today because it's so easy to get music, on Spotify, on whatever. Music stores carry a lot more stuff. But when I was younger, growing up, in a small town.
Is it 40s?
Anywho.
Very few bands that I will actually purchase a CD if it wasn't already given to me by my amazing girlfriend. If you couldn't hear what that was, it's Firepower by Judas Priest. And there's very few bands I will buy the records for. Root Cellar's obviously one of them.
We're hoping to do a music video soon. It should be rather campy.
Okay, hold up. I didn't get to finish my story there, Tim. You interrupted me. So when I was younger, the only thing you could get in the music stores that even resembled any kind of metal was Korn. Was the first 2 Korn albums. So that is what most of the kids in my town grew up listening to, thinking that was, the heaviest of heavy.
Mm. Yeah, I mean...
So it's totally all relative to where you are.
It. I do. I mean, I listened to Korn when I was in high school. I wasn't really... I was a late bloomer in the metal world, if you will. I didn't listen to a lot of heavy stuff when I was growing up.
Too.
And that's the thing is that, like, some of the guys I play in bands with now, they're a little bit older than me to begin with, but they were listening to metal since they were children. So
listening to Slayer and Megadeth and whatever.
They have this base knowledge that obviously would exceed mine, but I mean, I'm pretty well versed. But they have all this reference, so they'll make reference to these bands when I'm playing something, and then I'm like, oh, cool! Like, never heard of that band.
Yeah, well, that's the thing I'm learning too. Like, the older I get, it seems like I learn more about bands now than when I was younger, because my mind is more open to listening to shit now that I would not have listened to before. Like, somebody the other day said to me something about how my favorite band's Obituary. And my first instinct was like, fuck Obituary, because I've listened to them and I wasn't a big fan. But I'm like, I remember back when I heard Obituary for the first time and was like, that's pretty badass. To me now, because I know a lot more shit, and I listen to a lot more extreme metal than that type of stuff too. I was like, okay, I'm just going to leave this guy to be, because in a few years he might just be like, okay, there's better shit out there than that. And I'm not shitting on Obituary. Sorry if you're listening, Obituary. If you are, thank you.
I bet you like 50. I bet 50% of the people who are into listening to metal, playing metal, doing whatever, probably were late bloomers, because I can't imagine any 9 to 14-year-old kid being able to comprehend some of that.
We should probably
deathcore.
Stop using the phrase late bloomers in this pod, but okay,
we've said it
continue.
A few times.
Yeah.
But really, can you imagine your brain being able to comprehend some of the crazy symphonic stuff that's out there now?
Here's the thing. I mean, it depends, I guess. I look at people like Dan, and like he is so knowledgeable, and he's experienced so much music. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I've been down in his little music room, and he's got a million CDs.
By the way, he's talking about Dan P., who is our guitar player.
Yeah, like he has experienced 300 times the music in the metal genre than I probably ever could, because he was, just...
But if you looked at Dan and was like, have you ever heard of the Doobie Brothers? He'd be like, who? And me and Aaron grew up listening to classic rock music.
Well, so did I.
We know all, and Jen too, we know all the shit when it comes to that. So it's like, a lot of these people have never heard of Blood, Sweat, and Tears, but I fucking know exactly who that band is. Or Three Dog Night. And I'm not comparing any of that shit to metal.
Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Oh, that was that Monster Truck video, right? Oh, no, that was Blood, Sweat, and Gears.
Sweat, and Gears, yeah. Which I bet you Five Finger Death Punch had a song on.
Oh, my God. If they... Yeah, they should.
Yeah, if they don't, somebody get one of their songs.
Even better, they should play Where the Monster Trucks Drive.
I don't even know that. What is that?
No, I mean, like, set up and play
like Monster
on
Madness.
the track,
and let the
so the monster trucks
over them.
can
Monster
drive
Truck
over
Madness.
them. Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't catch that one.
Ha.
That was pretty good. That was a good joke, Aaron.
No, it wasn't.
FFTP for life. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Fuck. Don't even start. Oh, and they're Goldbergs references. We love the Goldbergs here, by the way, in this house. This is, we love the Goldbergs. Just saying. But yeah, no, it's weird when you start getting older and older, and you hear more music and you hear more shit.
Well,
and then
here's
you
the
realize
thing.
you missed a bunch of shit.
Well, because you're more open to it now.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's a progression. It's like anything. I can remember, like, I'm a huge death metal enthusiast now, so there's nothing that's really too extreme for me, and I'm a drummer, so obviously I love fast-paced, extreme death metal because, that's like the best drumming out there. I mean, unless you're talking like, I guess, tech death or all these kind of subgenres, but just extreme death metal. That's where
I can't play bass.
That's where a drummer goes if he wants to find something that's fast and really technical. And I remember buying the first Black Dahlia Murder album I ever bought was Nocturnal, right? I bought that album, I put it on, and it was too much for me at the time. I wasn't ready. I was too fast. I remember thinking, this is too intense. Like, the drums are too fast. I don't know how to follow it.
But it was like a jizzy orgasm in my ears.
Oh yeah, I mean, I later, obviously, I listened to it 5,000 more times, and it's definitely one of their best. I don't even know if I can say it's one of their best. I like all of their albums, and I don't know. They're just a band that
That's
I've
one of those
always
bands
followed.
I said has never done a shitty album. Like
No,
everything
I mean,
they've done's always been
certainly ones that are better than others, but I like them all. I really do.
Yeah, new one's amazing. The new track.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Vernimus, it's called.
Okay.
Oh, check it
I
out,
think
dude.
I've heard it.
Yeah, check it out.
But yeah,
On the old Spogify.
it's funny to look back at that and think that Black Dahlia Murder was too much for me at that time.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for it. And then, but
I feel
had
like I
not,
did that with every band, though.
Had I not been exposed to that, maybe that wouldn't have led me to look at other things. And then, now that's like, it's like my bread and butter for death metal. Like I just love it. I still go back to it. I still appreciate it. But yeah, like now I listen to stuff that's even faster and more intense than that. I mean, obviously, this genre just keeps going and accelerating to a point that's almost mind-boggling when you listen to recent stuff, which is great.
Shore?
Yeah. Was it?
You checked out Lorna Shore?
No.
So Lorna Shore's a newer deathcore. I think they might be on their third album now, and they just fired their singer for creepy reasons, but fucking released the album with him on it anyway. And I heard it and was like, I see why they did, because
He's a bit insane.
he is fucking crazy vocalist. Like, oh man. So if you get a chance,
Insanity is a good quality
It's
for
a
a
good
metal
quality.
vocalist.
Especially
Not
in a
literally
deathcore
insane.
band.
I mean, like, his vocals are
in a
insane.
Well, I mean,
deathcore band, he
It worked for
pulls
Devin
it.
Townsend.
But yeah, really. What was the song I remember hearing? First song I remember hearing by him.
A strapping young lad, or
Strapping Young Lad song, but it was like, "Oh my fucking god." Do you remember that song? Well,
yeah.
folks, if you haven't heard that, you're gonna be like 4 seconds into it and be like, "Oh my fucking god," and that's probably why they named it that, because it's just complete insanity.
I love all this stuff. His
But
solo projects, Strapping Young Lad. And
But Lorna Shore, I mean, they're doing it. They're doing it hard. They've already apparently acquired a new vocalist, or they have plans to do so. So they said fuck it, and they released their album with his vocals on it. They said they didn't want to wait longer. They didn't want to make the fans wait.
Plus, nothing's been proven yet, so
Nothing's
it
been proven.
seems like a record label.
We're not going to talk
move
about the
have
allegations
fired.
that were involved, but if you really want to know, go look on the line for CJ McCreary, and trust me, you're going to see the shit pop up.
Or you can tune in next week. We might just talk about it.
Yeah, we might, but it might be a little too new, because we got a pretty hot one coming up about a bunch of slimy-ass fucking metalheads. And, because there's lots of those. We all know that.
what's this got to do with?
Well, it has to do with a bunch of people, Varg.
Oh, okay.
But we're not going to allude to too much, because we don't want to ruin next week's episode. But
Some recent stuff as well.
some recent stuff,
Okay,
too,
yeah,
that
yeah.
you and me may have been chatting about off air here. Yeah, exactly, right? So, and over the years, there's just been a shit ton of people. And I also would like to talk about the, the public's fucking scandal, which was what I call it. And, I mean, we're going way back to Dee Snider going to court for us. Dee Snider going to court for the people. So when you get down to that, the public really kind of did some shitty stuff too as well. So, but anyway, long story short, Lorna Shore, they fucking got it going on, and they're bringing brutality to a whole new level, which is hard to do when it comes to deathcore when you consider some of the bands that have been out.
It's a lot of time changes in their stuff. Like it's
A lot of time changes,
Yeah,
a
I'll
lot
have
of
to check it out.
melodicity too, which
Yeah.
I like. I like to hear,
it's full for the years.
yeah, and I like to hear like. Don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those guys that's going to be like, oh, that's just fucking noise, because obviously I'm a metalhead. I'm into really extreme metal. So I'm not going to say that type of shit, but these guys really do put a melody in their tune. So they try to throw a hook in there, which is not a bad thing. Sorry, I mean, you can call it mainstream if you want, but throwing a hook in your song, all it really does is draw people in to listen to your music, which you've done a great job of putting out.
Yeah, no, that's selling out. Honestly, I mean,
Is it?
Yeah, there
Okay,
should
we're
be,
done
there
here,
should be
folks.
no there should be no redeeming qualities. If
Yeah.
you are a true metalhead, your music should sound
But that's the thing that bothers me is you notice that, dude.
like
It's
chaos.
there's a lot of people out there that are like, if your music doesn't sound like just pure noise, then fuck it. And I'm like, well, that's bullshit, man. That seems to be because you're saying that. These people are saying that because their music just sounds like pure bullshit.
You and I were talking about this, the whole dirty word of mainstream. Realistically,
I hate the word.
what is mainstream? It means those people put out stuff that enough people liked that now they're really popular.
I saw somebody talk about Polaris. So Polaris is an Aussie metalcore band. They talked about Polaris and they said, fuck that mainstream shit. And I literally, right underneath them, was like, fuck you, man. I was like, why don't you go on Polaris's page and post that if you got the balls? Because you couldn't pull off the shit. I couldn't pull off the shit.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean,
Fuck you.
so easy for people to judge, and that's the
Yep.
world that we live in now, where people sit behind a computer screen and judge everybody
Yeah. They're
as
fucking
though
internet warriors.
they know better or can do better, when really it's neither.
Apparently they're internet
The,
metalheads.
the thing is, like, I mean, you know, if you look at the music that I'm involved with, Root Cellar is certainly on the other side of that aspect.
You guys are in the underground fucking
You know,
world.
we're
which
very
is
underground.
fine.
We're very,
I'm not against
very
that.
brutal. We're less melodic than Built for Sin would be, by example. You know,
Yeah,
is-
Built for
is
Sin has
to-
definitely got a
to
melodic
compare
touch,
the
too.
two. But you know, it's not completely void of it. You know, it's still, you know, it's got some hooks there. It's got some groove. You know, it'll catch you. I mean, obviously, you have to be an enthusiast of brutal death metal to appreciate it. Otherwise, you know, I mean,
You gotta.
you're not going to be singing along with it. You're not going to know.
Which is why I fall into it
What
because
the
I mean,
lyrics are.
you know what my bands fall into. I mean, can you think of a band I like right off the top? Starts with an A. They might be
ABBA?
Yeah, ABBA, exactly.
Yeah.
And you guys sound exactly like ABBA.
Oh, I mean, that's what we're going for.
But I mean, Aborted is pretty much like somebody said, name a band. I was actually talking to a guy at work, and he goes, "Can you think of a band that's never put out a shitty album?" Because every band has. And I'm like, "No, I can right now." Aborted. Go fucking listen to every single Aborted album. Everyone's different.
Yeah.
Everyone has a slightly different style, and that's because Sven pulls out different people for every album. So, like, he's had more lineup changes in that band than probably most metal bands. But guess what? Everything he's put out has been quality. They've put out a deathcore album. They've put out fucking
I mean,
grind.
I
brutal death
appreciate
metal.
it.
Jen loves them. Like, Jen can't get enough of Aborted. She's
One
smiling
album.
right now.
One album.
She likes Global Flatline, and I don't even know why, because Global Flatline is literally the classic Aborted.
That's the only album I like.
you know what? The one that
Terrorvision.
I mean, I have a biased opinion because I was exposed to this album more than any other album. But I don't know if I'm even saying this word right. Strike Nine.
Strike 9? Yeah, it's a poison. Strike 9's a poison.
I knew it was a poison. I didn't know if I was saying the word right.
So that
Strike Nine.
Strike 9's their deathcore
I'm
album.
gonna say it again. Strike Nine. There.
Yeah,
I can
Strike
say
9
words.
that's their deathcore album.
I'm
So
good
then
at
I should
words.
probably check that album out.
You have inadvertently through me.
Really?
So many
You
times.
tell me-
I do
you
really
give me
enjoy
the whole,
that
what
album.
band is this? What band is this? And I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
no.
it's got to
I
be
play the
Aborted.
trivia
And
with
then I
her all
turn
the
it off
time.
in my brain.
I'm like, what band is this? This is ABBA. This is the Rolling Stones.
Every time, and he'll get pissed off and stop asking eventually.
But yeah, no, like, and that's what I said right to the guy. I'm like, if you've never heard of Aborted, go give them a chance. You might hate them because a lot of people can't get in. A lot of people.
There's a
can't get
good
behind-
chance you're gonna hate them.
A lot of people can't get behind the vocals of most metal bands. I've heard so many
I mean,
people
that's the common denominator. That's
I've
why
heard so many people say,
most people
"Oh,
don't like
their music's all right, but their
death metal."
vocalist is that." And I'm like, well, you know, that's part of what makes it what it is. It's like I hate fucking country music, but guess what? Half the time, I can't stand the fucking singers in country bands.
that's the thing. You see, you know, a lot of people will say that, like, oh, like I like your music, but the vocals is too much. And
it's insulting.
the thing is, for people that really like death metal, the vocals isn't too much. So, and that's not to say anything bad about somebody who says that or says, oh, I appreciate the music, but not the vocals. That's fine, you know, and I get that. I understand why people have that perspective. But at the same time, it's like, I'm a death metal enthusiast, and the vocals don't bother me.
I think there's a lot
No.
because there's so many subgenres, not to label again, but so many subgenres of metal. It's nuts. It's probably one of the biggest communities.
There's more
of,
than
Yeah, it's
any
stupid.
other genre.
Yeah, but
It
I
is.
think it's a bit of an acquired taste because I've come across like Anal Nathrak. I could not stand them at first, and now I
love
find
that
them
band.
to be the most amazingly horrifying. Like they're just an amazing band.
Yes.
So there's a band that I can't hate them because their quality. They're called the Raven Age. They're all clean. There's no screaming vocals. There's no grindy, thrashy style vocals. It's all clean. The guy's a really good vocalist. And for some reason, I just can't hate them. I want to so bad. My brain is like, hate these guys. They suck. They're pussies. And I'm like, no, I can't fucking do it. And actually, it's funny. Our daughter, loves them. Every time she hears a song by the Raven Age, she's like, "Can you put this on my playlist?" And I'm like, sure,
That's a warning sign.
I will put them on
Right
my
there.
playlist. But at the same time, I've also put some pretty extreme metal on her playlist, like Mushroom Cloud by Of Mice and Men. She loves them guys. I don't know if you know who they are. They're another metal.
Their band is called Of Mice and Men.
Yeah.
That's gay.
It's not at all, dude.
They did
They're
a pretty
actually-
awesome cover of
I
Money.
can't play music on this podcast, or I'm going to get my ass sued.
I'm just
but
joking.
They're pretty awesome. And like
No.
a couple other bands, like Darkest Hour. Do you know who they are?
No.
Darkest.
No,
well,
no.
dude, I'm gonna make you a fucking list because you need to learn some shit.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. Well, you
But
know
anyways,
what, pal?
Darkest Hour, another one of my favorite metalcore slash which.
One and two. Or, yeah.
So I'm gonna make you a list, but Darkest Hour is I would call them like a metalcore slash. They call themselves kind of melodic deathcore or melodic death metal. I mean, which I have a real special place in my heart for melodic death metal. In Flames kind of did that to me, which I don't mention In Flames enough as being a huge influence to me, but they are huge influence to me. Like
Very
they were-
sad what happened to them.
Yeah, kinda, but
Yeah, and
I
like
bet
the
you
last
new-
couple.
I bet you the new kids don't think that though, Jen. And that's what kind of one of the things, the points I want to make is they probably don't. The new kids probably hear it and they're like, "Wow, these guys are really awesome."
Do you
But when I
remember?
heard
The
Feet-
new Kids on the Block.
the new kids on the block, yeah.
Your
Do you remember
favorite
when I
band.
went out
Marky
and
Mark.
bought that new album though and
Marky
spent?
Mark wasn't in that. Never mind. His brother.
Do you remember when I bought their new
Nice.
album though and spent an atrocious amount of money on
Oh,
it and
yeah.
it was like lullabies and love songs?
I know.
Yeah,
That's
like
why
you,
it's so scary.
like you
Prince.
don't know that Marky Mark wasn't in the New Kids on the Block.
That's true. It's his
Like you
brother.
didn't have a poster on your bedroom wall of the
I
New
am
I don't
Kids
know
proud
on
if I
the
to
had
Block.
say
a
I was
poster,
never
but I
into the
definitely
new
had their
kids.
tapes.
Oh, you did.
Did I have a poster?
Oh, you did.
Okay, good. I'm glad to be reminded of that.
I
Because
am.
I know I loved the New Kids on the Block and like all that pop music back in the day, but I couldn't remember if I had a poster.
I am a female and was not into new kids.
No, I was definitely a New Kids kid.
Ugh.
You know, it's funny. Is not last year, but the year before. I saw them play. They did a reunion, like a New Year's celebration. They all got back together,
Yep.
and it was we just happened to be at some friend's house. It was Dan Kitt's place, and they
were
they played
watching-
at whatever celebration that they had on the television.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Never a new kids fan.
No, I mean it was before my time for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, not to judge. We're all young. Sometime we all have music that we probably wish we didn't listen to at some point in time in our lives.
I was so sheltered growing up in such a little town from so many new things that were happening because literally like Q104 was one of the only radio stations we could get, so it was classic rock, you know.
Yeah, small town problems.
I don't call growing up with classic rock a problem. It's a hell of a lot better than growing up with all the crap that it could have been.
Yeah, that's true.
And we're back. Had to have a tenacious pee. Call back to last week. Jen had to make a tenacious tea.
Aaron?
You got anything?
I'm just sitting here drinking beer. I don't know.
It doesn't rhyme, so fuck you.
Does that rhyme? I don't know. I'm a drummer.
Yeah,
What?
it's true.
I don't
You got a
rhyme.
little drool, by the way.
That's all right. You know what? If I wipe it, it's just gonna come again
That's fucking awesome.
in your ear pussy.
That's
Oh,
what we
boy.
do, people. We fuck your ear pussies with our getting hardness.
Wow.
So Aaron made a fancy little... Yeah, moving on. Aaron made a fancy little list here of stuff he's been listening to,
Mm.
which I'm going to say at least half of that I've never heard of.
Well, there you go. Now, and then I was cast out here momentarily ago from not having a lot of music that I listen to.
Oh,
Like you have,
who would have cast you out for that?
well, my wayward brother, of course.
Oh, right.
I
So-
was just about to say, if
So
you guys don't know, they're
let's
brothers.
find out here
No,
if
I don't know if we actually mentioned that.
No.
my wayward
No,
brother,
we never
which
actually did mention that.
we
that,
haven't
yes,
mentioned
this other
until
guy
this
that's
point.
across the table from me is my brother, so I've known him longer than any other person.
not weird at all that we talked for 40 minutes and didn't mention that we were brothers. That's
I actually think it's
perfectly
kind of
normal.
funny to do that to people.
Yeah. So let's see. This is some of the stuff that I've been into lately. I mean, obviously, some of it is old, so you'll know of it.
Yeah.
Emperor. Got kind of
Love him.
back onto Emperor. It's been a while since I'd listened to them, so
Yeah.
it was like
I don't like Hassan's new
discovering
stuff,
them all over
Emperor
again.
themselves.
You know what? I like a lot of his solo stuff.
Saxophone
new-
can fuck off in metal, okay?
The new stuff is a bit much for me. It's hard. I mean, I appreciate him and I like his vocals, so that's my soft spot. But I mean, I like a lot of different styles of
Yeah.
music. So, you know, and on the softer style of things that we were talking about previously, a couple bands that I'm a big fan of that I've only recently discovered, I would say. I mean, by recently, I would say the last year or two. And maybe more than two for Amorphous, but Amorphous and The Contortionist.
I've heard of the
Now-
Contortionist, and I've heard of them both.
Amorphous is a very old band, and
Yeah.
they were nothing like they are now. So,
Oh, it
I mean,
changed a
it's
lot?
basically a completely new band. If you listen to the first album that they put out, and then listen to the recent stuff, it's a different band. You know, you're talking progressive metal for the recent stuff, and then like basically, I don't know, like old school death metal, I guess, for
Okay.
the olds. So it's like, yeah,
So like almost a punky kind of influence
it's
there.
not punky. No, I don't,
No?
it's hard to describe. It's
'Cause
got
I
some.
find some of the earlier death metal, like, to me, and I don't hate it, but there was definite, like, hardcore influences in there, for sure. Like hardcore punk and stuff.
Yeah. Now, the Contortionist is a band that I'd recently been acquainted with.
They're fairly modern, right?
Yes, they're also quite progressive and pretty much all soft singing styles.
Okay.
So just
No screaming.
there is, but
Some.
it's scattered. You know, it's majority vocals that you can understand. So
Sweet.
you can hear the words as opposed to most
And folks-
death metal and other things that I listen to. And it's melodic, it's slower paced, which, you know, I don't always listen to fast stuff. I like actually a pretty wide range.
Folks, just so I can pause you for a second, by the way, check these bands out we're talking about. You may not like them, you may love them, but we're trying to spread the word of metal, and everybody has got a different fucking opinion of what they think is good. So check some of this shit out. It definitely will benefit you in the end to at least know what's good and what you like and what you don't like.
I'm going to just jump in and say, an observation I've made about both of you is you're both into pretty progressive metal.
Yeah, that might have been the yes and the rush that
I was just going to
forced
say,
upon us as a child.
it's got to be
You think?
from what you were brought up with.
I still love
definitely.
yes, and I still love Rush.
Now, I mean, I went down a path of extreme, so I definitely listen to a lot of stuff that's far outside the progressive category. But I come back to that, you know. I mean, I like, you know, everything from black metal to progressive to death metal. You know, I mean, I'm not as big into the thrash, but I mean, you know, I like some Pantera, so
I like some
can't
thrash
say that
bands.
I don't like it. It's just not.
I'm a pretty big thrash fan.
Yeah, I like some thrash bands a lot, and some like they can fuck off. Like, actually, I've just found a thrash band called Siberian Meat Grinder, and yes, they are from Russia, and yes, they are fucking
that sounds
amazing.
pretty brutal.
Oh, they are brutal, and all their lyrics are in English. I discovered, but his accent is so thick that when you listen to
You
it,
can't tell
think
when
it's
he's
in-
singing it.
No, when his accent's so thick, he's so Russian that you can't tell. It sounds like Russian vocals. But once I looked up the lyrics, and I was like, okay, shit, they are in English. Anyways, continue with your list. This is interesting. I'm loving this.
Yeah, so, I mean, Omnium Gatherum, that was one that you had suggested to me.
Love
It's something that I've definitely taken a liking to. It's
They're not of this continent.
It's a very old school death metal style, so it's a melodic death metal, I should say. Simplistic. It's not like overly fast paced. There's nothing that like
But they do have
smashes you in the face, but it has a good speed to it, and it's got this catchy melodic pace, and
a very professional sound
I
as well.
quite enjoy the vocals as well.
Yeah, they have a really professional. I would almost say like, I almost have to disagree with you a small bit and just say they do have a very modern side to them, like where you're like, okay, their professionalism is modern. Like their style, yes, comes from a very old school era, but their professionalism is on such a modern scale that I'm like, they are like next level, kind of in a way.
The production value
Yeah, the production for sure.
is certainly a modern quality, I would say. Now, Catatonia is someone or band that I've been a huge fan of for many years. Actually,
That's hilarious. Just found them tonight.
You just found them.
I just found them.
I love this band.
They just
I mean,
released new shit.
I've listened to them for a long time, and I've always been a huge fan. And it's very far outside the realm of fast-paced, brutal death metal or anything even
Not bad.
closely resembling it. But I don't know. I don't know what it is about them. But
I didn't have a bad outlook right away.
They have
off
this
the get-go.
atmosphere to their music that I can't get enough of. Yeah, they're masterful at creating the atmosphere of their style.
Yep. You know what, bands?
Someone that I've definitely taken a big
just
liking to.
create. That's all we want. That's all the people
Very
want you
unique.
to do is just create. Do your thing. Don't try to fall into someone else's groove.
Now, as far as newer stuff in the
You're too philosophical.
I am.
yeah
Like fucking Philosophices. Wasn't that his name?
Yeah.
that was it. Yeah.
Definitely his name.
There's no way to pronounce that better.
So I have to just, I'm going to ask you about this because this one gives me, like, this band is kind of gives me the feels. It's one
Yeah.
of those special to me
Yeah.
bands. I don't know why. They make beautiful music. So is that something you're into right now? Or is that...
No.
So we're talking about Misery Signals. Just
Oh.
I didn't want to say. I was going to see how long we could go without actually
I'm pretty sure Misery
saying
Signals
the
is
name.
holding our recorder up right now.
Is it?
Oh,
no,
it might not be.
it's not.
It's over here.
I was so excited when I found out that they were putting out a new album, like, I don't know,
Yeah,
4
so
or 5 years ago now.
It was
I had listened to them years ago, and I guess I'd kind of fallen away from them. I rediscovered them again
That one album
a few
is
weeks ago,
so
actually. I was
fucking
looking
amazing.
through some of my old music, and some of the albums came up, and I popped it on. And you know what? Some bands, you do that too, and you hear the music, and you think, oh, yeah, I really don't relate to that anymore, and I can't get on board with that.
They're
This
sad.
wasn't one of those bands where
No.
I put the music on again, and I thought, oh, yeah, this is like remembering something from the past. So I reconnected with it, and I enjoyed it just as much, if not more.
They seriously write some of the most
They-
beautiful
What
melodies.
was
I-
the
I think
album
that's
that
a
we listened
good-
to? Over and over and over. What
Good
was-
way to test your music.
Do you remember what it was?
The one before was
Isn't it called
Malice and the Magnum Hearts.
Isn't Controller?
Controller.
Yeah, yeah.
Controller.
So that
Okay.
that album was
Anybody
definitely
who
my
hasn't
favorite.
listened to Misery Signals, fucking get Controller
You can-
and listen to it.
You can
It is
close your
amazing.
eyes while you're listening to their music, and it's almost like it paints an art piece in your head.
It's metalcore on a whole new
It's
fucking
well
level.
constructed for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, and I think if you can listen to something and then go 5+ years with not having any contact, and then put it back on,
Yeah.
and it still plays and rings true and relevant to you, then you know
Nothing is the song I was thinking of.
then you know nothing. Exactly. That's what I was going to say. If that happens, then you know
But
nothing.
nothing is the song I was thinking of, and it's just got such a fucking... It's like it gets you in the heart.
The timings
Yeah.
are really hard on the head if you're not familiar with
It's an amazing
bands,
album.
but-
It's well
Yeah.
constructed. It's got just enough off-timing stuff that it really
Yeah.
tickles me as a drummer,
Oh, it's
but
math.
not too
There's
much.
math
You know, I mean,
involved.
there's some of this new math metal that's like it's kind of too much. Where it's like
It's math core.
I still enjoy it, but they had a nice blend of that plus melodic death metal. And,
Yeah. And
Oh,
a
yeah,
really
they-
great vocalist.
Yeah, like
he's very talented.
It's weird too to me. Like I always thought, because I remember Misery Signals was really early in my extreme metal life. Like I remember there was Pantera, In Flames was kind of like the first bands I remember getting into, and Misery Signals was in there too. And I remember being like, why can I hear every word he's saying?
Yeah,
Like I could sit here and listen to a song and write down the lyrics to the song, and I was like, to me, that's so fucked up, because even In Flames, there was no way you were doing that shit. You had to go find the lyrics on online or something, right? And I loved that they had...
You're dating yourself.
Yeah, I know, eh? On the internet.
Simpatico up those lyrics,
yeah,
Tim.
I had to
Simpatico.
dial up and dial into
Wow.
my internet and fucking... But yeah, like, I remember being like... It hit me really hard that I was like, why can I hear what he's saying compared to other bands like Carcass, and you couldn't hear a fucking word that anybody in Carcass was saying.
I think it's funny you say that they... We've talked about this before. You always say Misery Signals is sad to you.
It is.
It's
To
sad
me,
music.
If any metal band will bring a tear to my eye, it will be Misery Signals.
To
And
me, it's the
something to do with their
opposite.
tone.
It's the opposite to me. I actually feel incredibly happy listening
Got to
to
be a
them.
personal thing, I guess.
You know what? I mean, I think that's a good test to see if a band is applicable to different
And versatile.
types
yeah.
of people and different mindsets, because
It's
your
true.
your songs should be able to affect people differently
Yeah.
in different ways.
And I don't mean sad in a bad way.
You know, if
either.
you
I
make a
mean
song
sad
that
like good.
everybody thinks it's sad, then you've been too specific or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like
When
like
I say
any
sad,
form
though,
of
I love
art,
listening to it, but
it
I have
should-
to listen to it on a rainy day.
it's like any form of art. It should be interpretable by the listener to their own experiences. So they should be able to listen to that and have a completely different experience than the person next to them listening to it.
Yeah.
And I think they're a band that really figured out how to do that. You know, to me personally, when I listened to that band, they were certainly one of those bands that, you know, made the hair stand up on the back of my neck and gave me a fuel, if you will.
Yeah.
So there's certain bands that I listen to that I feel they fueled me. So I would have this kind of eagerness to get down and practice my drums and make music. And yeah,
I'm sure to the untrained ear, they'd sound very messy because of their off timings and.
Well, that's
But
like I was bringing me back to what I was saying about how a lot of bands. The first time I ever heard the bands, and I'm guilty of this. This might be a fucking bad quality to have. Qualities are bad, never. But anyways, it might be
any
bad thing.
quality that you can have as a person
Is bad.
is a bad quality.
Yeah,
You should
exactly.
strive to have zero qualities
Okay,
as
but
a human
my
being.
actual point is here.
As a secular human being, you should have zero qualities as a human.
But anyways, what I'm saying is
I think I've said human too many times.
It seems to take me. It takes me a couple listens to get into something. So the first time anybody played, I remember the first time I ever heard In Flames was our good friend Joe Dodge,
Yeah.
and future guest. Hopefully, I was hoping to get him on here because he knows a lot about metal. But he played Fiend by In Flames for me, and I remember being like, "Yeah, dude, you're fucked."
You know what though? I don't think
It's
that
not
was
Pantera.
I don't think that was the first thing.
You don't think it was?
Because we were playing in a band together at the time.
Okay, what would have been then?
And he bought the album Come Clarity.
Oh yeah.
And he brought it over.
That was not on Come Clarity.
was the
That's
first
on
thing I heard.
Soundtrack to Your Escape.
Yeah, Come Clarity was a pretty
awesome.
recent,
Yeah.
comparatively, album.
But I remember, anyways, either way, I remember hearing In Flames and being like, yeah, I don't think it's for me, man. It's not the metal that I like and this and that and that. And I feel like that's one of my downfalls is that I'm like that with a lot of music. Like, I've tried to change that in the recent years.
You're very closed off to music that you don't want to listen to.
I've tried to change that, and I've done that successfully with Lorna Shore. And I'm sure I'm going to get lots of backlash on this because Lorna Shore, there's all going to be all kinds of old school metalheads. They're going to be like, they're just a bunch of fucking grindy kids that are just thrashing and smashing.
I'm sorry, but the name of their band sounds like a reality TV show.
It kind of does a little bit, actually, but you hear them, they're a reality metal fuck.
Next, after Jersey Shore is...
Lorna Shore.
Yeah. But, I've tried to do that with them, and the first time I listened to Lorna Shore, I was like, I can't hate them.
What's the song we first heard? King of what?
King of Deception.
And it's of OV.
It's of OV, which I hate that. I
Well,
hate it when people replace
Tim, they're like
F's
20
or
years
U.
old. 20
No,
years
they're not.
old.
No,
They've got
I
to
don't
be
think.
young.
Well, they've been putting albums out for at least 5 years, so they're not 20.
So they're 25.
Maybe. Either way, they're professionals and they're doing this shit right. And they got
I'll have to check
got
them out.
fucking Century Media or Metal
Are they
Blade or
Australian?
somebody
Oh, well,
behind
I
them.
mean,
They
Are they
got somebody behind them though, backing them.
Are they Australian?
they have the blade
No,
of metal.
they're American.
Are they American?
Yeah.
So to circle back around, I am excited about the new Misery Signals album. I'm not sure when it's going to happen.
Is there another one
There
coming?
seems to be some skepticism that it's going to be anytime soon. I saw a few humorous comments underneath the article I'd read suggesting that it was going to take quite a while.
Well,
They've
they
got
seem
some
to
lineup
have
issues.
a
Do it.
lineup.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But I will listen to it and make a judge for myself. Hopefully it's something similar to
This is not a terrible album.
what
No,
they
that's
did
actually
before.
a great album.
What is that?
This one here is
It's
called
the one that came out in
Absent Light.
2014, I think.
I don't think I've heard any of it.
Yeah, it's called Absent Light, and you want to check out the tracks. You might know some of the tracks that are on it. It's decent, man. Like,
So going back to
No,
when I used to
I've
hang out at your
not.
apartment a lot, I used to listen to that in your apartment a lot.
Really?
Yes,
This album?
that album.
I don't believe you.
It's true.
oh, by the way, folks,
Lies.
he doesn't believe anything that's said to him.
No, I mean, just as a
You're not
matter of
adopted.
fact, I don't believe anything unless it is the word of God.
Oh boy, come on.
Well, whatever Dimebag says, he believes then.
All right, so the former drummer for Death, obviously all drummers for Death would be former drummers, so I guess it
I know
goes
the-
without saying that he would be a former drummer.
I know the sadness that's about to ensue.
Yeah, me too.
Sean Reiners,
Yeah.
he died on the 24th.
Yeah, his
I'm
band
quite
was
saddened to hear this.
amazing.
He was only in Death for one album.
Most,
which, of course,
I think
would
most
be-
drummers weren't they?
I believe
The Hoagland was
that
in more than
Hoagland
one?
did at least two.
Did he do two? Okay.
Yeah, he did the
He's-
Sound of Perseverance, and
I know he did that.
And he
Did
did.
Crystal Mountain song?
I can't
What
remember.
album's that on?
Yeah, honestly, I can't remember.
He was only 57, wasn't he?
He was young. Yeah, 24th he died. So he played in another band called Cynic. Have you ever
Yeah,
heard of them?
I know Cynic.
They sound a lot
I don't
like
know them
Death.
well,
I
but I
hadn't
know-
listened to them until I heard of this news. And of course,
Same
the
type of
album,
style for sure.
the
Yeah.
album that he played in with Death was Human, which was sort of coined as the first Tech Death album. I don't know if you know
Oh,
that.
really?
Little
I didn't know
bit
that.
of trivia for you. So, I mean,
That's kind of cool.
what we refer to now is Tech Death. or
First tech death
technical
band
death
I ever
metal.
heard would have been Obscura.
You know, which has been obviously built upon by this whole wave of Montreal tech death, which is just basically blowing the doors off in the ears off
speed, timing.
It's incredible. It
bass
really
playing,
is.
that just pisses me off.
There's stuff that comes out of Montreal that is almost uncomparable to any other region of the world. But yeah, I mean, Human was supposedly the first tech death album.
Okay.
And yeah, it was the only one that he did with them. He started Cynic in 1987 with
oh wow,
a guy named Paul.
So way
Masvidal.
before Death was ever.
That's been around
Defunct.
a pretty long time, right?
Well, that's been long before '87.
Yeah, I don't know when Death started. To be honest
No,
with
but I
you.
mean, when did Death come to, and when did Chuck die?
I have no idea.
I don't know when he died either.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Well, folks, we do not have information for you at this one moment.
But yeah,
there's
there's
that, and maybe in the next episode I'll try to figure out when it was that Chuck actually died.
there was some controversy over his death because he wasn't allowed to donate his organs
I just heard this shit.
Yeah, this is
Fucking
due to
bullshit.
his
Disgusting.
sexual orientation. Now, his boyfriend husband, I should say, they were married, had stated that he had not contracted any diseases. He was perfectly healthy organ donor, and I don't know what state they lived in, but I'm guessing probably one that wore Make American Great hats.
red and south.
The hospital would not allow him to donate his organs.
My producer has just informed me that Chuck Schuldiner died in 2001 on December 13th. And he was at the very young age of 34. Very sad.
Yeah, it was a brain cancer, was it?
I don't know what it was. I'd have to look. I'd have to ask the producer to look into this more if I wanted to know more. But yeah, no. I mean, it was one of the saddest moments in metal. Yeah, we're getting close to wrapping this up anyway.
Yeah.
Jen's just pointing at the battery flash on the recorder here. We're getting close.
So another band that I listened to years ago called Dark Fortress.
Oh fuck!
They have a new album in
Do
the
they
works.
really?
They have a hit coming out called "The
Aren't they
Spider
like
in the
30
Web."
years in now?
A hit?
Yeah. They have a new hit single.
I feel like I want to quote fucking
It is-
Phil Anselmo.
It is.
This is our hit.
It is a new hit. It will be on Much Music.
What? Is that still a thing?
No,
No.
it's not.
Okay.
No, it's not.
Obviously.
it never will be a thing.
Neither
again.
is a hit, so I just thought it was appropriate to.
It's a hit to us.
Anyways,
To mess with me.
they have a single that's been dropped
Ah, boy.
I'll check them out.
called "The Spider in the Web." Check it out.
Nice.
It's interesting. I look forward to hearing the rest of the album.
They're a fucking
I'm
great
a big
band,
fan of their previous work. I always thought they did good stuff. Other stuff that I've been listening to, Alkaloid. I don't know if you've heard any of their stuff.
I've heard the name. Like I might have seen it just pop up in my list on Spotify.
Yeah,
'Cause
so-
I have like the new metal track released list coming up on me all the time on Spotify.
Right.
I try to stay on it, but you know what bothers me? There's so much fucking shit that is not interesting to me on there.
Hard to sift through it.
It's hard.
They have an album. I think their most recent one, Liquid Anatomy.
Okay.
Very good. You should check it out.
I'm gonna
They-
take a snapshot of your list there when you leave.
Some of the members of Obscura.
Oh, okay. Are they no longer a band?
I don't know. It's been a while since they put an album. I
Yeah, it's
wouldn't.
Good
Sug-
tech death band. If you
suggests-
haven't listened to Obscura,
They're one of my favorites
yeah,
for sure. Obscura
they were one
is.
of the first. Like I said, I think they might have been the first time I ever listened to tech death.
Yeah. Vale of Pnath. I don't know if I'm saying the last name.
I think
Last
it's probably
word,
a
right?
silent P.
It could be.
Vale
Like
of Nath.
Nam-
I'm going to
Pneumonia.
say Vale of Pnath.
You're gonna say
Pnath?
Nath?
Pnath.
Okay, folks. Well, just so you know, it's probably Nath,
It
not
is,
Pnath.
some good death metal for you there.
Sweet.
Knee Obliviscaris.
Is there a P at the beginning of that one too? Because it might be Pnee.
There is a P, a K, and a Z. at the beginning of that.
Neat.
That's actually the only letters in the name. I just figured the rest out because I'm that smart. They are French, I believe.
Sweet. French Canadian or French France?
I couldn't tell you.
Just speak
Probably French Canadian.
Okay.
Very good band. I recommend you look them up. New Flesh God Apocalypse album. Well,
I know you're a huge fan of them,
new.
guys.
I've always been a huge fan of them.
Yeah, I know that for years.
Labyrinth, probably my favorite album, but the new album, Veleno, I don't know if I'm saying that right. They are Italian? I think they're Italian. I'm not 100% on that one.
The name sounds Italian.
Veleno. Very good. Very good. I think I like
but then again,
King and Labyrinth more, but it's still very good.
Then again, Anolda Throck is from fucking England, so it's hard to tell where any band's from, really.
That's true. You never know.
Because Anolda Throck has some lyrics that are actually in a different language than English.
Are they?
Yeah, no, they
Or
do
does
have
it just
some.
sound that way?
They're in Latin, which we know they're not Latin. So, but that's a cool list, man. I'm fucking loving that shit.
It's okay.
Like I said, I'm going to be snapshotting that and anything that's on there that I don't know, I'm going to check it out.
Also, apparently, don't know if you're aware of this, but Between the Buried and Me has...
Oh, fuck.
bobbleheads.
Banged on the table. I did it.
You did bang.
Yep.
on the
I had
table.
to.
So you can get bobbleheads
Are you fucking serious?
for Between the Buried and Me now.
So BD Bam, I got to say right now, I just want to say this to the public, to the people, is literally my favorite progressive metal band of all time. They are so out of character.
What the heck did you just call them?
Progressive metal.
No.
Yeah, they're prog metal.
No, the name of the band.
BD Bam. Hey, you want to blame somebody for that? You can blame them for that. Because they just did that.
Did
Are we
they?
almost done this episode?
I hope not. Or so. I hope so.
I think we should drag it out.
But, no, man, Between the Buried and Me, fucking love that shit. Like, they have done so much weird, obscure type stuff that just, you'll listen to it and you'll be like, what the hell am I listening to? And then 2 seconds later, you're into it. And that's what I love about them.
We talked about this on a couple episodes back about the big band jazz.
They are
funk.
fucking incredible, man. They have got
Yeah, I
more
enjoy them.
versatility
They're very
than-
diverse.
Yeah, they've got more versatility than any other band that I can think of from today that's still doing shit. And funny post, I'll talk to you about this after air. I'll show it to you.
We
I might have
posted
shared
it on our
I might have
socials,
shared it
didn't
on
we?
our
I think so,
on our
yeah.
Twitter. You got to see this shit that they put out because their tickets were sold out in a bunch of cities. Anyways, it's pretty awesome. But yeah, Between the Buried and Me, incredible progressive metal band. I don't know if you call them progressive metalcore. Maybe.
I don't know what they are.
Yeah,
I don't like categories.
They don't fall into anything, what I like about
Yeah,
them.
I don't know. I think it's hard to categorize anything now because all these subcategories came from the past, and now
That's right.
Most modern bands are trying to come up with a new sound, so they're combining things from these subcategories,
Which is where all the
and that's what it
categories came
should be.
Yep.
If you're trying to create a all black metal band now, you're gonna have a hard time
Yep.
not reproducing something that's already been done,
Well, I'm glad you brought
or
this
death
up.
metal, or thrash metal, or any other subcategory.
I'm glad you brought this up because we just did an episode about core and about where the whole core suffix comes from, like metalcore, deathcore, all the cores, and it all comes from hardcore, and everything has just been a split from there. It's been punk to hardcore.
It all comes from porn.
It all comes from porn, hardcore, fucking big dick, gaping pussy porn.
BBC.
Jen is having such a good time right now. She has no idea. You have no idea. BBW, BBC, fucking
Okay,
porn.
are we ready to wrap this up?
I hope so.
Seriously,
getting
this
started.
For
time?
your sake.
Okay. You know what? I'm ending it. This
It is probably
episode of
time.
Getting Hard has been brought to you by the amazing ability to interrupt. Also brought to you by Tim and Aaron. Aaron, thanks for coming. We probably won't have you back.
Let's plug your socials, bud. Yeah, we probably will anyway, though. Because he'll just walk in and be like, I'm on the pod.
The pleasure is mine.
Yes.
So, yeah, you got socials you want to plug, buddy?
Facebook.
Social, like Facebooks? Do you know what socials are?
I use Facebook.
Use Facebook.
Your bands? Do they use anything?
You have a... Yeah.
Plug?
Oh boy.
Oh, fuck. Here we go.
We'll list them on our socials later.
Yeah, we'll put
Check
them-
out Root Cellar
Yeah, Root
on
Cellar.
Facebook. And Built for Sin, whom my brother, the
I run the Twitter for that.
host, co-host, star of this podcast, subspecies star of
Oh,
this
subspecies,
podcast.
not pro-species? Or whatever.
the pro bass species.
Oh boy, are you done with your socials?
Check out Built for Sin and Root Cellar.
Yeah.
Plug our socials.
Should be
All right, so...
a new album drop from Built for Sin
Yeah,
very
yeah.
soon.
Definitely an
and
EP.
Should be a album coming very soon for Root Cellar and hopefully a music video to go with it.
Love that we're
Oh,
doing
yeah.
videos
It's going to be
again.
very campy.
Video's got to come back.
Yep.
Super campy.
Well, I hope so. It should
Lots
be.
of blood.
I seen your mask. It better be campy.
Oh, there will be blood.
All right. If you want to find Getting Hard Podcast, we are at Getting Hard Pod on Instagram and Getting Hard Pod. Oh, fuck. Just search for Getting Hard Podcast because we're on there somewhere. You'll find us. We're on Spotify. This is where you're probably listening to it right now.
This
But if
podcast
you're
is
not
brought to you
listening
by
to it
whiskey.
On Spotify, you're probably not hearing this, and it's not probably going to be. You're probably not hearing it at all. So then
Do you want me
don't
to
need
take
worry
over?
about this. Jen, over to you.
We're on the Instagram, the Twitter, the Facebook, the Spotify. Nobody listens to our YouTube, but we are on YouTube.
Yeah. So if you want to find us on YouTube, we will find videos, and we're going to get videos up there soon. Eventually, we're going to have videos of our pods.
And yeah, so thank fuck this is over. Aaron, thanks for coming. Tim, it's time for bed.
Later.